This is Two Wheels Better, and this here is the Ace Cafe. But this isn't the reunion that we covered earlier, this is the Ace Cafe for real. You used to come here in the good old days, didn't you?
Yeah, in middle 50s.
Yeah.
Going up towards the 60s, down on first of all an A7, and then progressed to an A10 sidecar with a wife and a couple of kids. And we used to take the chair off and fly up and down the main road here. It's all changed now. The dual carriageway is miles over there, but this used to be the main road just outside.
Yeah.
And we used to get bullied by the police officers sometimes, but as usual, some of the police were good, some of them weren't. That used to be the cafe where it says Just Tyres. And tyres went there. Anyway, we got turfed out later in the 60s. We never came back again, and we were so glad that in the end they had a reunion a couple of years ago, and they're going to start reopening it again, and perhaps we'll have
And you stuck with bikes all this time then?
small break in the middle, went to cars. About 59 I still had a bike, but I sold the bike at 60 in 64, was on cars, and then about 71 straight back onto bikes again. Started back with little stuff, got me nerve back again, and now of course progressed right up to the big 900 Triumph now.
Yeah, I'd say you're back with Triumphs then, so you're a Brit biker through and through, are you?
I don't want to sell this one, but it's getting heavy now, past retirement age, so I always think that I got to stay with the Triumph.
But at least you can relive some of your youth here then, but no wheelies, I guess?
Not nowadays, no. My old 650 Gold Flash wouldn't do a wheelie because it was geared down for sidecar work.
Now Mark, I've dusted down my old leather jacket here just to be part of the scene, but is it necessary to come to the Ace Cafe?
I think in truth not, because a lot of the people bringing bikes here actually bring them in vans and things and parking them in pride of place out in the forecourt here.
Right, so no real problem. It's open to all.
Open to all, but the identity of the place is without doubt that heritage of Tritons, cafe racers, and the spirit of that British motorcycling period of the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, well, we've seen some crackers down there. Now, when I last spoke to you down at Brighton, you were about to open, so are you pleased with the response so far?
Yeah, we've only had, this is our 5th Sunday, and it's all stopgap, etc. But no, it's wonderful to see everybody sort of flocking round to enjoy cups of tea and chips again.
Why not? Now, I know it's only a sort of a temporary setup that you got at the moment, isn't it? You're open for business, as it were, but you've got greater plans.
I wouldn't describe it as a temporary setup.
All right.
What we've done is acquired the freehold of the place. We have got the planning consent for the whole project, which is a cafe on the ground floor and a restaurant on the upper floor. But what I wanted to do in the first instance, was to start on a Sunday only basis, to continue that identity with motorcycles and that history which is wrapped up in the place. And I didn't wish to prejudice that identity with all week long opening. This is the core of it, motorbikes.
Okay, and so the plans from sort of now on in though, because what I meant was you've only got part of it open, you've still got the Just Tyres down there. Now in the old days, Just Tyres, that was part of the Ace, wasn't it?
Yes, that was the larger part of the building. Originally it was a cafe and a restaurant. The portion that we currently occupy was the extension to the restaurant. Upstairs, where we have the various rooms with the tables and whatnot and magazines, that was originally accommodation. Eventually that will all be knocked through into one big restaurant on the upper floor.
So it's going to be quite a place. Now tell me, talking to some of the old stages down here, tales galore, and I suppose they've been embellished over the time, but what's all this about the jukebox having to be screwed down and the tables as well? Were they thrown around where they were?
Well, originally you could only hear rock and roll either at the fairground or on jukeboxes in places such as this, the Ace Cafe. People wanted those records, and as I'm told, they would invariably break the jukebox or try and steal the whole thing, and eventually here they bolted the jukebox down and put it behind a iron cage, and all of that is quite clear on the ground actually in the Just Tyres portion, where you can still see where it was affixed to the floor. You can still see where the tables were affixed to the floor. In fact, the whole kitchen area is still all tiled out.
Now, is this true that there were records lying around on the roof as well at one time?
Yeah, when we first came here and were checking out the roof and whatnot, behind the signage, when I leant over there and had a look, there's all the old neon tubes and bits of old record where I'm told, again, they'd break open the jukebox and throw them up here. Yeah. We've also found old salt pots and things like that.
Now, tell me, in the 90s, the politically correct 90s, then, is this going to happen again?
Well, whether or not it does happen, I don't know, but certainly we won't want to encourage that sort of behaviour. No, what we want to be is something that is we're all proud of, not wild excesses of youth perhaps, but something that's alive and buzzing, yes, but something that is, this is ours, this is British, it's chips into the 21st century.
Well, because the Ace is all about nostalgia, and talking about nostalgia, I used to have a Triton many years ago, I won't tell you how long, but the guy who used to build these is famous for them, Dave Deegans. Dave, it's good to see you here, and this famous name Dresda. I remember the old Dresda autos and all the rest of it. What have we got here, your little collection?
Yes, it's a selection of bikes that I've kept hold of. This one's the bike that I won the Scarborough Gold Cup in 1969. This is a bike built for a customer, and it's just an example of what we can do. And this one is a 650 Triumph engine in a Norton frame that we won the 24-hour race in 1965, and it's the only British bike with British riders that's ever won the race.
And that was saying,
that's probably the start of the Triton popularity, that people saw this bike winning the race and said, gosh, this is what we want, and we're still making them now.
Yeah. Has there been any difficulty these days with all the classic Galton people wanting to keep their Nortons and keep their Triumphs? I mean, how do you get on for getting the parts together?
No, if anything, there's more parts available, because 90% of motorcycle production in the 60s, 50s and 60s all went to America. The craze has left America, and there's people bringing it all back to England.
All right.
So I've got colleagues bringing container loads of Triumph spares over, and I could pick the phone up and probably get enough to make 15, 20 bikes each month, and it's much more than my capacity.
That's excellent, that is.
Yeah.
And tell me, we're here on the Ace Caff today. Did you used to come to the Ace Caff in the good old days?
Yes, I came in the 50s and in the 60s. I lived at Twickenham, but we quite often used to have a run over here because there's always bikes of interest and interesting people. There's some real characters then. They're still around.
And what were you running in those days, or did you make a Triton in those days?
I had a Triton, but my main bike was a BSA Gold Star, and that I started racing on in 1959. I won the Thruxton non-expert race on that, and that gave me the flair to start racing.
Yeah. And so it must be great for you to be back and see the Ace Cafe coming along the way it is.
Yeah, I didn't think it would ever happen.
No.
You know, when there was the get-together, there was thousands of people here, and I thought, gosh, it's not going to happen. And then Mark has really put a lot of time and effort into getting it all sorted out, and a lot of credit to him.
Well, you meet the nicest people on motorbikes, and who could be a nicer person than Johnny Walker here, ex-Radio 1 DJ and now Radio 2 DJ. Johnny, it's good to see you here.
Nice to see you, Jeff.
Now, I can't believe that you used to come here in the good old days.
No, I didn't actually. I was in Birmingham then, and I remember, and I was a bit of a teddy boy, a bit of a rocker, and I used to go down to the local park, and I used to see all the old Triumphs and the Nortons and stuff, and just love the whole atmosphere. But my dad, unfortunately, was one of those dads who says, "No way are you having a bike, son." So that's why I had to wait a few years before I got onto two wheels.
And now you're on a Beamer, very respectable.
A bit of a respectable Beamer, yeah, a bit boring. A lot of people think they're boring, but it's the old Boxer, but the 4-valve version.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely bike to ride.
But and you used to be a Harley man, and I think you spotted this one behind me earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, there's this one over here. I had a Sportster first of all. Well, to go way back in the 70s, I had a Honda 175 Twin.
Yeah.
And I remember I took my test on that, locked up the back wheel, so failed that one. And then I was living in Acton and was working on Radio 1, and I couldn't use the Westway. So I pulled the number plates off and just try to look professional and use the, you know.
Is it all right for us to broadcast?
No, well, I since have passed my test. And then I had a Harley 1200, then I went to a lowrider. And then I tried one of the big things, you know, with the luggage on the back, the old Electric Glide Classic. And my son, who got into biking on a Honda CBR 600, I said, well, fancy a ride this weekend, son? He said, no, Dad, you know. He said, I said, go on, say it, what's the problem? He said, it's too slow. Yeah. So I thought, I've got to do something. So I thought, well, I like the Harley cruise and the open face helmet, put the shades on, nice in the summer, you know. But I thought I'd try something a bit quicker. So then I bought this thing. And now I'm kind of hankering after the kind of bike you've got, the old ZZR. Or maybe a Blackbird. Or maybe they've got a new version of the R1100 coming out next year, so I might go for that.
So, Johnny, what's the attraction of the Ace to you then? You being a relative youngster.
Well, I mean, that's it. You meet young people like you and I here, Jeff, you know, which is part of the attraction. But it's got a lot of the old atmosphere, you know. They've got a jukebox inside there. You see some lovely bikes, some of the old Triumphs in beautiful nick, and they're great to see. So it's that British motorcycle heritage, I think, that's being kept alive here. And there's not that many places for bikers to meet in London, so it's a good focal point for London bikers and anybody else who wants to come.
Well, and if anything's to go by on today's turnout, I mean, it's really going to go well in the height of summer, isn't it?
No, I think it really will. You know, as the word gets around that this is here and it's open every Sunday, I think there'll be a lot more people coming on.